Viewer discretion is advised. You are listening to Wine and Crime, the podcast where two friends chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash their worst Minnesotan accents.
I sure do.
You sure do. I'm Amanda.
I'm Lucy.
And this week, we have a very special fan pick, a delicious fan pick. Brought to you by Allie Patterson, who has chosen the topic of potato crimes.
I was really happy to see this.
Me too. And
who wouldn't be?
I wanted to be creative with our pairing today. So I thought this would actually be a really good opportunity to pair today's episode with potatoes.
Yes.
I wanted
potatoes for lunch like 20 minutes ago.
Incredible. So I wanted to discuss our favorite potato dishes and like walk people through how we make them so that they could get a couple little potato recipes. So I'll go first.
Okay.
My fave preparation of potatoes is mashed. I'm a purist. I'm an old school mashed potato bitch, obvi. And I make mine, I quarter russets. I leave the skin on. I know a lot of people don't love that. I like the skin, okay?
Yeah.
So I leave the skin on. I boil them until they're soft to the poke of a fork. And then you drain the water out and return the potatoes, the soft taters, to the pot. I keep it on a super low heat. You melt in a fuck ton of butter, like at least a stick. If you're not putting at least a stick in there, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
And then I mash in the butter first. Then I add in a little bit of cream to get the right texture. I like to put in goat cheese, black pepper, and celery salt.
Oh, yum.
And I mash everything with a handheld potato masher because I don't like them to be like whipped or too soft.
Yep. An immersion blender is nice too.
That's nice too. And be mindful of having the heat still on while you're mashing.
Yeah.
I'll usually turn the heat off after the butter's melted. And then move it off that burner because if it's still hot when you're mashing them, they're going to get soupy. Like they're going to melt.
Yes.
So you got to be careful with that. But I like a chunky softness balance, like a little skin in there, some good chunks. So it takes like, including boiling and getting everything softened, you can make mashed potatoes in like 15, 20 minutes. It's an easy.
Including boiling?
Yeah, I mean, I
take a lot longer than that.
Oh, I have like a crazy stove.
Okay.
So water boils pretty fast on our stove. How do you make your fave potatoes?
Well, I had to text Corey to get my recipe box out of the kitchen if you heard the door creaking and him.
I love
leaving.
that.
Was
So
that was.
cute.
So my favorite potato recipe is my mom's cheesy potatoes.
Yes, I was hoping
Yep.
that you were going to share this.
They're basically funeral potatoes. Ah! So this is actually my Grandma Joan's recipe. Oh,
Grandma Joan.
Grandma Joan. It's called Grandma Joan's Potato Bake on this recipe card. And we have made a couple of adjustments.
You got to.
You got to.
People grow. People change.
I make this. Honestly, I'm surprised I did not make this for the 4th of July, but I was kind of busy.
Yeah.
It's good for Christmas.
Everything.
It's good for Thanksgiving. It's good for Easter.
Breakfast.
It's good for the 4th of July. It is excellent leftovers. These will be good for a week. So you get 32 ounces, which is 2 1-pound bags. It's 2 pounds of diced frozen hash browns. I don't like the diced. I use the shredded.
Yeah, the shredded's the best.
The shredded is the best. You got 1 stick of butter melted, 1 of the small cans of cream of celery soup, like the smaller ones. The original recipe called for cream of mushroom and also a can of mushroom pieces drained. If you like mushrooms, that would be delicious. I don't know that I'd fuck around with canned mushrooms, but you're baking it anyway in butter
they're
and
be
cheese.
soft.
Then we do 16 ounces sour cream, 2 cups of shredded cheddar cheese, about 1 medium onion chopped up, and then salt and pepper to taste.
I'm
I put some garlic in there too to kind of melt
my
around.
mouth is watering.
But so you melt the butter in a large glass bowl in the microwave. You add all of the ingredients except the hash browns, because the hash browns are the biggest hassle to stir everything in because there's so much of it. So you want to get the rest of the shit mixed together so it's less mixing with all the volume of the hash browns. Then you pour it into a buttered 9x13, and then you bake 1 hour at 350. And there's nothing better.
Yeah. And it smells so good while it's baking.
It smells so good. It's really easy. So that's my favorite potato recipe.
I love that.
I was also going to say, for a minute in college, my friends and I would mix instant mashed potatoes with ramen noodles.
It
was really good.
I like to put peanut butter and a poached egg in my ramen.
Peanut butter?
It makes it like a peanut sauce. It's really fucking good.
In like just your top ramen?
Yep.
Wow.
Chicken or veggie top ramen, scoop of peanut butter, and then I poach an egg right in it.
Okay.
Right at the end, final like little boil.
Yes, chef.
Anyway, we thought that would be a fun potato pairing this week. And so you could hear some of our fave potato prep, and then you can make some yourself. And if you do make it, please tag us because we want to see your results.
And you know what? And another thing. All of these little labels in my recipe box, there's not one for potatoes.
We need to make a potato section.
Yeah, I do. We do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Done.
Well,
done.
Going to Office Depot to get little tabbed index cards immediately after this.
Lucy.
Yeah.
What is our background, maybe psych, and maybe cases for potato crimes? Oh, Lord.
Do I sound gleeful?
Mischievous and gleeful? Yeah, you love to be titillated.
I do. Okay. I do have psych.
Oh, God. Okay.
It's weird. According to my boyfriend, potatoes are an annual plant in the nightshade family. The annual, perennial, whatever.
It's fine.
The nightshade family is unique because it contains small amounts of alkaloids.
Oh.
And if you're not familiar, here's a word about alkaloids from a volume called Alkaloids, Their Importance in Nature and Human Life. Quote,
oh, wow.
Alkaloids showed strong biological effects on animal and human organisms in very small doses. Alkaloids are present not only in human daily life in food and drinks, but also as stimulant drugs.
Oh, dear.
They showed anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer, analgesics, I never know how to pronounce that word, local anesthetic and pain relief, neuropharmacologic, antimicrobial, antifungal, and many other activities.
Potatoes are amazing.
They're magic. They can do anything, even though they don't have very many alkaloids in them. Like, you're not going to hallucinate from eating a bag of chips, but it depends on the chips, I guess.
It does depend on the chips. I wonder if the alkaloid property is what people who are allergic to nightshades can't tolerate.
Aren't we all allergic to nightshades because it's like toxic?
Yeah, but some people are like much more allergic, like can't eat a lot of different peppers and things and like potatoes, things in the nightshade family that are edible.
Do I know nothing about nightshade? I thought it was just poison. You use it in like spells and shit.
Yeah, but didn't you say that this is in the nightshades family?
Yeah, and I was surprised to learn that about potatoes. I didn't know peppers and other shit was in the nightshade family.
There are a lot of edible foods in the nightshade family that aren't toxic.
My God.
So I know that there are people who are allergic to nightshades, and I was just curious, like, what that might be about. But alas, there's no way to know. Yeah.
Okay. I have more research to do. So there are some health benefits to eating potatoes. Besides getting happiness and full. So, according to UC Davis Health, just because potatoes are stem tubers and starchy vegetables doesn't mean that they're bad. It just means that the vegetable contains more calories and typically less fiber. But potatoes do contain vitamins, minerals, and some amount of fiber.
They're healthy.
They're healthy. They're a vegetable.
Yep.
They're rich in vitamin C, which was super important in the early days because it prevented scurvy. They also contain potassium, which is an electrolyte that aids in the heart, muscles, and nervous system. So you as a diabetic, if you were having like a diabetic fit, would you reach for a potato, or is that not like...
Well, you could, but if you're experiencing low blood sugar, you want your sugar in liquid form so it works as fast as possible. Because that's more like acutely, like immediately dangerous. And high blood sugar is more dangerous in terms of long-term complications.
Okay.
So that's why I always
potatoes?
I mean, I would and have absolutely housed a cold Tupperware of mashed potatoes during a low blood sugar moment. 1,000%.
Remember when we put on our rider that we needed a pan of mashed potatoes?
And they brought us one.
And we thought they would know it was a joke.
Nope.
So we were there for like a 40-minute set.
Yep.
And we had a pan of
an entire pan.
really good mashed potatoes.
They were so good.
I wasn't even hungry. It was a waste. Anyway, that's why we don't joke on our rider anymore.
Nope. Sure don't. We were so new.
That was a good show. So there are different types of potatoes. And the ones that come in like various colors usually contain more nutrients and have health benefits.
Oh,
so
it's like red and purple ones?
Red, purple, sweet potatoes,
we
yellow.
love sweet potatoes. Bill makes those all the time.
So in general, the darker the potato, the more antioxidants it contains.
Oh.
Those sweet potatoes are a good source of vitamin A, and purple potatoes are rich in antioxidants, including anthocyanins, which may prevent heart disease and cancer and boost brain health. So also in that category are purple carrots, purple cauliflower, all of those like cool purple variants. Red wine. Purple tomatoes, probably.
We're saving your life.
They're quite healthy and they're beautiful. And they're fun to cook with. I made a purple riced cauliflower one time.
Gorgeous.
Have you ever made like baked riced cauliflower?
Oh, it's so good. I'm such a cauliflower girly. I order it. Like anytime there's cauliflower on a menu, I like to order it. I just love how people prepare it.
I had that cauliflower steak in Palm Springs out of nowhere. I was
so
like,
delicious.
oh, I think I'll be vegan tonight for dinner for the first time in my life. And it was so good.
So good.
Okay. According to Potato Goodness.
Oh, your new bookmarked website.
My new homepage. Fuck Google.
Yeah, we don't
What do I need to know about not potatoes? More than 200 varieties of potatoes are sold throughout the U.S., and there are well over 5,000 varieties of potatoes around the world.
Oh, my.
Here's a fun fact. You know, when you have like a potato that's green or like it's partially green.
Sure, yeah.
And it like doesn't taste right.
I just assume that it's like not ripe, kind of like a banana.
So no, it means that part of the potato grew above the ground rather than below the soil.
Oh.
So it got sunlight when it shouldn't have gotten sunlight, which caused it to develop chlorophyll.
Oh.
As well as a toxin called solanine, which repels insects, because if it's above ground, it's going to need to repel the insects.
Weird. Cool.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, plants are fucking amazing.
I know.
They want to grow and they develop all these little fail-safes. It's amazing.
Oh, we will really get to it.
Okay.
I love that you brought that up. Apparently, the potato is native to the Peruvian, Bolivian Andes and is one of the world's main food crops. So it was developed in the Andes. Potatoes are hardy. It's thought to have been independently domesticated several times and largely cultivated in South America by the Incas as early as 1,800 years ago.
Cool.
Potatoes were introduced into Europe during the second half of the 16th century by Spanish conquistadors coming from Peru. By the end of the 17th century, the plant was a significant crop in Ireland.
Yep.
Duh. By the end of the 18th century, it was a significant crop in continental Europe. So it took a while to spread to the rest of Europe, considering how versatile and delicious potatoes are.
Yeah.
So we got lots of people depending on potato in their diet, especially because potatoes are inexpensive. You can grow a lot of them. A lot of people who can't afford other foods really rely on potatoes. So that is why in the summer of 1845, Ireland got fucked up by what they called a blight of unusual character. So basically what would happen is within a few days of the potato being dug up, it would get really mushy and slimy and turn black.
Oh, no.
And they did not know what was causing it. So some people believed it was from the smoke from the railroad, from the trains, the locomotives.
Yeah, pollution.
Yeah, it's 1845 though, so locomotives is sort of this. It's a really huge technological advance, and there were a lot of people who were distrustful of it because it was unnatural.
Okay, so that could take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah,
just like your potatoes.
Exactly, kosher salt.
Okay, yes.
They also thought it might be coming from vapors from underground volcanoes.
Okay.
In reality, it was a fungus that had come to Ireland from Mexico.
Oh, dear.
But they were completely unfamiliar with it, so they just really did not know what the fuck it was.
Yeah.
So what they called famine fever, which was a lovely combo of cholera, dysentery, scurvy, typhus, and infestations of lice, plus just general malnutrition and starvation.
Oh, my God.
Spread through the Irish countryside. People were buried without coffins in mass graves. Children were starving in the streets. Over the next 10 years, more than 750,000 Irish died, and another 2 million left their homeland for Great Britain, Canada, and the United States. And within 5 years, the Irish population was reduced by a quarter.
Wow. Happened so fast.
So I don't know if you've done your ancestry.
I have done some of it. I don't have much, if any, Irish.
I definitely have Irish, Polish, Russian, German. I don't know, Fitzgerald. Yeah, Irish.
We're all French, Dutch, and Swedish.
Well, Corey did his, or someone in his family did, down to specific people who came over.
Wow.
And it was a potato farmer from Ireland, a potato farmer from Germany, a potato farmer from Sweden. They were all fucking potato farmers from
in the
Northern
family.
Europe.
Yep, there you go. He is who he is.
He's genetically a potato.
He's a taterman.
He's a taterman. Okay, so don't get me wrong, the fungus itself was bad, but the British made the whole thing so much fucking worse than it had to be.
Yeah, the British were worse than the fungus.
Yes.
As per usual.
Oh, God.
With you Brits.
So under British rule, Irish Catholics couldn't hold certain jobs, and they also couldn't own their own land. So they were only allowed to rent really small, as in less than 5 acres, small plots of land from absentee British Protestant landlords. So the British, had all this land in Ireland, and they're like, this isn't yours.
Yeah,
it's
farm
mine.
it, give us the money, and you can't eat any of your crop. Bye. And also that crop's going to go over here because we're hungry.
Your crop is going to be the size of a postage stamp because it's not a lot. So for this reason, potatoes were a crucial crop for the Irish because it was the only thing they could grow enough of on their little plots of land.
Yeah, to sustain themselves.
Then the English, in their white wisdom, determined that the free market is going to be what ends the famine. We'll just let the free market do its thing.
Yeah, y'all can just eat each other alive for our business, basically.
Yeah, Jonathan Swift said it best. So in 1846, the British repealed the Corn Laws, which, and I'm not a business economics person.
Okay.
So I'm just going to tell you what the internet says.
Great. And I will ask
and
no
not
questions.
really explain it because I don't super get it.
Love it.
Okay, so they repealed the corn laws. The corn laws protected domestic grain producers from foreign competitors, thinking that this would help. But the Irish were too poor to afford foreign grain, so the starvation just intensified. I think that they thought if there was now foreign competition with Irish, British produced crops, then the price would go down.
Okay.
But it didn't for some reason. I don't fucking know. But basically, it made it worse.
Yeah.
So then the British were like, well, okay, we're going to develop
Well, that failed.
That didn't work either. So they developed some emergency work relief programs in Ireland. These were like in the form of workhouses.
Oh, dear. Okay.
You know, bootstraps.
Yeah.
But then like Britain had a banking crisis that was completely separate. So they just like stopped funding these workhouses and they just kind of went to the wayside. But there were so many impoverished Irish that the workhouses became super overcrowded. Some 2.6 million Irish resorted to living in these workhouses where more than 200,000 people died.
Oh, wow.
Is this the plotline of Angela's Ashes?
I don't remember.
Did you read it? I feel like you read it.
Yeah, I was supposed to in English, but that usually means I skimmed it to get the concepts so I could write the essay and not actually have to read the whole book.
Yeah,
sorry, Miss Sinclair.
This wasn't required reading for us. But I remember the cover. It was like a dirty child.
We had it in my house. My mom definitely read it. I might have made an attempt and didn't finish it.
Okay.
That sounds like me.
I feel like dirty child, Ireland.
You can't be far off.
Ash.
Angela.
Angela. Some ashes. So in addition to the population dropping from almost 8.4 million in 1844 to 6.6 million in 1851, lasting distrust of the British was prevalent in Ireland after the famine ended.
Can't really blame them.
Nope. Okay, so here's my potato psychology, and you pretty much already guessed it.
Okay.
So I love you for that. Carl Rogers, an American psychologist and one of the founders of humanistic psychology, which is client-centered therapy. It's fucking wild to me that is a relatively new concept because previously it was like, I'm the therapist, I'm the authority, I'm telling you what's wrong with you. Versus like...
modern therapy is much more listening on the doctor-provider's part.
Yeah. And just like egalitarian. So that is humanistic psychology.
Okay.
So Carl Rogers basically came up with it. He used the analogy of a potato to describe human behavior and its instinct to grow in unfavorable conditions. So here is a quote from Carl from 1980.
Ooh.
I remember that in my boyhood, the bin in which we stored our winter supply of potatoes was in the basement, several feet below a small window. This is how everyone sounded in 1980.
1000%. 1980. Yep, this was it.
U.S.
Yep.
The conditions were unfavorable, but the potatoes would begin to sprout. Pale, white sprouts, so unlike the healthy green shoots they sent up when planted in the soil in the spring. But these sad, spindly sprouts would grow 2 or 3 feet in length as they reached toward the distant light of the window.
Oh, the light.
Potato vine is beautiful. I have some in my pots outside. The sprouts were, in their bizarre, feudal growth, a sort of desperate expression of the directional tendency I have been describing. They would never become plants, never mature, never fulfill their real potential. But under the most adverse circumstances, they were striving to become. Life would not give up, even if it could not flourish. In dealing with clients whose lives had been terribly warped, in working with men and women on the backwards of state hospitals, I often think of these potato sprouts. So unfavorable have the conditions in which these people have developed that their lives often seem abnormal, twisted, scarcely human.
Ooh.
Yet the directional tendency in them can be trusted. The clue to understanding their behavior is that they are striving, in the only ways they are that they perceive as available to them to move toward growth, toward becoming.
Oh.
To healthy persons, the result may seem bizarre and futile, but they are life's desperate attempt to become itself.
Oh, wow. Life finds a way.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
Does.
Wow.
Okay.
Beautiful. I loved your dictation of that. Absolutely cinematic.
Unidentifiable. Maybe that's what Newfoundlanders sound like.
Must be.
Labradorians. Okay, so I got some fun facts about potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
Potatoes can grow from sea level up to 4,700 meters above sea level.
Damn.
Hardy, baby. I wonder if they
Go
can grow
off.
under
The ground.
water.
Maybe.
Hydroponic potato.
Why not?
That'd be weird.
Give her a try.
Potatoes were the first vegetable grown in space in 1995.
This tracks.
Then I wonder why they limit it to 4,700 meters above sea level if they can also grow it in space.
Well, I don't know.
I know. The Irish potato famine, which we discussed, gave rise to the field of plant pathology. The Potato Museum in Washington, D.C. contains 2,000 potato artifacts. You guys like potato chips?
You guys like potato chips?
Potatoes didn't arrive in Idaho until 1836.
Oh, they stake so much claim on their potato crop, but y'all got it late.
Well, what else do they have besides, like, white nationalists?
Oh, we know it's not all of y'all.
And beautiful nature.
Stunning.
Marie Antoinette wore potato blossoms in her hair. In Shakespeare's time, the potato was known simply as the apple of love.
Oh, that's fun.
Okay, so in the U.S., 35% of the potato crop is turned into French fries.
Oh, duh. We know what we like.
That's too low.
That does actually seem low, considering how much fast food we have.
I know. 28% is used for fresh. Who's eating fresh potatoes? I don't know.
That's shocking.
And 13% goes to potato chips. On average, U.S. residents consume 110 pounds of potatoes per year. Also
Maybe
seems low.
That does seem low. Maybe by being used fresh, they mean like people who are just buying whole potatoes and then taking them home and fucking around with them.
Just like not processed and then frozen in whatever form.
Yeah, so like when we make our mashed potatoes, we just buy the russets. We don't buy like the frozen, shredded, whatever.
For some reason, when I read fresh, I thought raw.
Just eating a raw potato? No, I don't think that's what they mean, but maybe.
Maybe. Who's eating fresh potatoes?
We don't judge how you eat your potato, okay?
Oh, God. Okay, so U.S. residents consume 110 pounds of potatoes. Europeans consume twice as much. I feel like I consume 3 times as much.
Yeah, we're contributing heavily to these stats.
Idaho Potatoes has a recipe that you can get online for potato ice cream. I'm good. And the word spud became used for potato around the mid-19th century. Before that, a spud was like a sharp, narrow spade that was used for digging up rooted plants, especially potatoes. So that's the word. That was the word for the tool. And then it became the word for the root product. Okay. And now I have a series of mini cases for us because there were kind of a lot of potato-related crimes.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I know. I was assuming I was going to talk more about the Irish potato famine, but then I went and looked for potato crimes and I was like, oh, I'm good. I don't have to do that.
There's a lot. Okay, so I got 3 that'll whet your whistle.
Oh, shit. Okay.
For your segment. So the first one, I mean, they're all like violent and sad, but this one... You know, I'm going to say that one for last. I'm going to go third with that one. It's a doozy.
Okay.
So the first one I have is the story of Kenneth David Crumpton. I don't have a lot of information, but what I do know is enough. So in 2018, Kenneth David Crumpton Jr., aged 36, was detained by the police after repeatedly stabbing his girlfriend in the head with a fork over an undercooked baked potato.
Jesus Christ. I mean, I understand being upset about that. That is a bummer. But, like, you
It's
could
a
pop it in the
bummer, but, like-
microwave for a minute and not stab your girlfriend.
Yeah. In the head with a
Yeah.
fork.
You douche.
Yeah. So he was charged with aggravated battery with a deadly weapon following the incident. And in 2019, he was found guilty of misdemeanor domestic battery after pleading no contest in connection to the attack.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, goodbye. Okay, this next guy is from the UK. 38-year-old Daniel Burgess planned to take revenge on his neighbor, 48-year-old Michael Horner, who he believed had stolen his prepaid gas cards.
Ooh.
So over there, when I saw gas card, I thought it meant like gas for your car. It's for your utilities.
Oh, okay.
So because if you didn't have your prepaid gas cards, you couldn't heat your home.
Oh, my. So, yeah, this is much more dire than I initially thought.
Yeah, it matters a little bit more, but not this much more.
No, not murder more, if that's where it's going.
Yeah, so this was in the wintertime. This was over Christmas in 2015. So Daniel planned to make Michael Horner suffer similarly.
Oh, dear.
By sabotaging his heat.
Okay.
So he planned to fuck up his neighbor's heat because his neighbor, he thought, had fucked with his heat.
Yeah, okay.
So Daniel Burgess used a large raw potato. Oh, he used a raw potato.
There you go.
There's one.
There's a use.
He
Fresh.
used a large raw potato to shut off the pipe through which exhaust gases should have been vented.
Oh, no. You're going to suffocate them or, like, carbon monoxide them.
Yeah, so he thought he was preventing the heat from coming into the house. He was preventing gases from leaving the house.
Yep.
Which resulted in the death of Horner from carbon monoxide poisoning.
Ooh.
But he had, it gets worse. But as long as you know that the neighbor is dead. Daniel had super glued his door locks shut so he couldn't get out.
Oh, my God.
And he thought it was like a prank. But however, a fault in the boiler meant that the automatic fail-safe system didn't work, and that is why the house filled with gas.
Oh, no.
When the police found Horner, he was wearing just his underwear in his home because it was so hot, and the heat had been turned up to, it was 140 degrees in there.
Holy shit.
The fumes in his house became fatal in his kitchen within just 14 minutes of the boiler being switched on.
Holy shit.
So Burgess admitted to manslaughter and was jailed for 2 years and 8 months. Ugh. And I think a big reason why he got like in the most trouble for it is because they said that he knew of Horner's pre-existing health conditions. He had Huntington's disease and he had heart problems, which resulted in a restricted mobility.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So he used the potato to
kill his neighbor.
Oh,
shit.
Speaking of killing your neighbor, here's my last one.
Oh, God.
On February 9th, 2021, in Chickasaw, Oklahoma, 44-year-old Lawrence Paul Anderson used his shoulder to break down the back door of his neighbor, 41-year-old Andrea Lynn Blankenship, before stabbing her to death.
Oh, my God.
She was stabbed 40 times. She apparently was home with her 2 German shepherds. Unclear if anything happened to the dogs or why the dogs weren't about it, but whatever. After she died, he removed her heart, her left eye, and her stomach. Found around her body later were numerous bloody knives, a broken box cutter, drill bits, screws, a sewing machine, and a bloody tree branch.
What?
Yeah.
I don't like this. It's giving Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah. So Lawrence then walked across the street, holding her heart, to the home of his aunt and uncle, Delcy and Leon Pye. So his aunt and uncle and their 4-year-old granddaughter, her name was Chaos Yates.
Oh.
Her dad was Leon's son.
Okay.
So I think her dad was Lawrence's brother.
Sure.
Whatever. The aunt and uncle is Chaos's
They're related.
Grandparents.
Okay.
So they were at home, I get like waiting for him. Unclear like what had been going on throughout the day, other than Chaos had been dropped off by her parents to her grandparents' house while they were just out running errands. So very casual day with the grandparents. So Lawrence came in, cooked Andrea's heart on the stove in a pot with potatoes.
Oh, God.
There's the connection. And tried to make his family eat it in order to, quote, drive out the demons.
Okay. Yeah, he's going through something.
He ended up attacking all 3 of them. He killed his uncle. He maimed his aunt. He stabbed her in both eyes, and she also suffered broken ribs and a broken tailbone.
Oh, no.
I didn't look for details about little Chaos, but when the police arrived, she was alive, but she passed on the way to the hospital.
Oh, my God. So he attacked her, too.
He attacked all 3 of them, yeah. In 2023, Anderson was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He pleaded guilty to 3 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of assault and battery with a deadly weapon, and 1 count of maiming. His aunt is still alive. Delcy is still alive. But the worst part about this is that this dude had been released from prison 3 weeks earlier.
Oh, no.
On charges related to crack cocaine. I think I read something about him selling drugs like within however many blocks of an elementary school.
Oh, dear. Okay.
Also, he was mistakenly released because of a pardon from the governor.
Oh, so he wasn't even supposed to be out.
He was not supposed to be out.
Oh, dear.
There was kind of some complicated legal shit that I wasn't really wading through very well with like why this happened, but he was not supposed to be out. He had been denied parole and he got out and 3 weeks later did this. I'm assuming that this was a drug psychosis situation, but anyway, killed 3 people, tried to cook
Yikes.
her heart with some potatoes.
That's horrifying.
Yeah. Yeah. And Little Chaos is so cute. And her name is spelled Kaeos. She's just so sweet. I have some pictures of her. Anyway, sorry to end potato crimes on the darkest note ever, but
really sad.
Yeah. Yeah, really sad.
Well done.
Good thing potatoes have drugs in them.
Proud of you.
Thanks.
Okay, so are you ready for my case?
Yes.
It's sad. Maybe not quite as sad as what you just left us with, but okay. So
hate to follow that act.
Yeah. For this case, we're going to the 90s and we're going to Newcastle, New South Wales, Australia, mate.
Okay. Not suitable for work, Australia.
Yep, NSFW, Australia, where Alois Rez and his mother, Ziana, moved to Newcastle in the early 1990s. Prior to that, they lived near a town called Dubbo. There's a lot of interesting and lovely areas.
Australia is fucking weird.
Yeah, it is weird, and I love it. Where he would often play sports with one of his mother's friends, a man named Raymond Roff's son. Those 2 were close in age. Raymond Roff will be relevant later. That's the only reason why I mentioned that.
Okay.
But Newcastle is where he meets his girlfriend, which I don't even like calling her that for reasons we'll get to, named Sarah Tarrant. Shortly after, so they met in 2004. Shortly after her 15th birthday,
oh my God,
Alois Rez, who was 24 at the time, starts a relationship with Sarah. Like a sexual relationship. This is a grooming situation. He's almost 10 years older than her. She's just turned 15.
15.
Yeah. After a dispute with her mother, who Soups didn't want her daughter dating a 24-year-old, her 15-year-old daughter, Sarah runs away and moves in with Alois and his mother, Ziona. Sarah's mother would object to the relationship due to the nearly 10-year age gap and also due to the fact that Alois was associated with a dangerous motorcycle gang that was kind of prevalent at the time. They were called the Rebels.
Okay.
And it's also noted here by Kathy, our amazing researcher, that multiple articles would refer to Sarah's mother as overprotective and state that overprotectiveness caused constant fights until Sarah would eventually move out. But I agree with Kathy's sentiment here. She said, personally, I would consider being resistant to a grown-ass man in a gang impregnating my 15 or 16-year-old daughter to be the right amount of protectiveness. So this just feels a lot like rape culture and misogynistic shit at work. She was literally in the 10th grade at 15 years old, and she's moving out of her mom's house and moves in with Alois, and she gets pregnant almost right away. She was 16 when she gave birth to their first child in 2006. And between 2006 and December of 2011, Sarah would give birth to another 3 children. So she has 3 children, like under the age of 5.
Jeez.
Or sorry, 4 children under the age of 5. 5 and under.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah. 4 children before she's like 21. Which is great. Also during this time, Alois would attempt to leave the motorcycle gang. He wanted to leave the Rebels Motorcycle Club, just be with his kids. You know, he's a bad person, but he was trying to like be less bad.
Okay.
He knew some gang secrets, so he did feel that he would be a target for leaving. So the family moved around frequently. First, you know, they leave Newcastle, then they went to the Central Coast and Port Stevens areas. But in 2012, they eventually settled with their 4 children and Ziona back in Dubbo, which is Ziona's hometown. And like Alois had spent a ton of his life there. So they had friends and connections there. But this is 400 miles away from where her mom, Sarah's mom, was living in Newcastle, where they had lived before. And she had no community there. So she's totally isolated at this point with her children.
Oh.
For 10 days, they resided with Raymond Roth, that old family friend of Ziona's, and Raymond's aunt, while the family looked for a house in the area. Alois and Raymond spent a lot of time together going out on the weekends, and Kathy Roth, Raymond's wife of 30 years, had passed from cancer like the year prior in May of 2012. So he just really appreciated the company.
He was lonely.
Yep. And when Alois bought a house on Alfred Street nearby, Raymond helped the family move in, renovate the new house. He's over there all the time. And these regular visits would lead to a relationship developing between him, Raymond, and Sarah.
Oh, God.
So Sarah's like 23 or 24 at this point. She's got 4 kids and is most likely being abused by her husband. We have some evidence to indicate that. And Raymond is 51, a recent widower. He's almost 30 years older than her.
God damn it. These old guys need to quit fucking around with Sarah.
Yep.
Ugh.
Sarah would confide in Raymond about her problems with Alois. She said she was unhappy in the relationship and felt that Alois was lazy and over-demanding. She also didn't like the criticism she received from her mother-in-law, who also lived in their house.
Oh, good.
So their romance kind of blooms end of 2012 into 2013. And at the end of 2012, in December of 2012, an old school friend of Alois, a guy named Hamish, was struggling financially. So he and his son also moved in with the Alois family. So there's 8 people living in the house now.
Too much.
5 children.
Oh, no.
Hamish, Alois, Sarah, and Ziona are all living under this fucking house. And Raymond's over all the time. So there's essentially 9-10 people there at all times.
And his mom.
Yeah, I counted her.
Oh, okay.
With the crowded home increasing tensions, Sarah would become closer to Raymond. After getting close over a period of months while renovating the Alfred Street premises, Sarah began to make sexual overtures to Raymond. A court justice that presided over this case, named Justin Fagan, would later describe them as, quote, very explicit sexual overtures. These explicit advances would escalate through January 2013. Sarah would allegedly flash Raymond while the children were in the house, asking him if he, quote, liked what he'd seen. A classic move.
Yes.
She also sent him explicit photographs. I mean, it's 2013. We've all got iPhones at this point.
Mm-hmm.
March of 2013, after strong encouragement from Sarah, according to the judge, Raymond began to reciprocate her feelings, and Sarah and Raymond began a full-on sexual relationship. Now, I obviously have thoughts about how they're kind of blaming Sarah when her behavior makes perfect sense to me. She'd been groomed by an older abuser who she married, and he sired 4 children with her. She wants out of this relationship, and this is the path she'd been groomed to walk. So, like, here's this other older man that she can count on who's protective of her. I just think that this is a reflection of how the courts were painting her as kind of a Lolita who came onto these men and convinced at least Raymond to do things he wouldn't normally do, which like maybe that's true. I just think that it usually is more complicated than that. And this girl has been taken advantage of really her entire life.
Yeah.
So they would meet on most school days when the kids were gone, sometimes twice a day at locations around Dubbo to hook up. A lot of times they would pick spots like outside. Like Kathy put a photo in here of under a bridge down by a river in the area. Which she said seemed literally hot and way too exposed to bugs and like spiders the size of your head.
Oh, ish. No,
thanks.
It's not like a cute bridge.
No, it's like it kind of looks like a highway overpass over a little muddy creek.
Oh, not a cute bridge.
No. In late March, Sarah would write a long love letter to Raymond and would leave the note in his motorhome. The letter stated that their relationship had given her a new meaning to life and something to live for, and ended promising to be his beautiful wife and bride. Raymond would respond with a letter of his own saying that he would be a great husband to her and a great father to her children. So they're planning, they want to be together. May of 2013, Sarah tells Raymond she wants Alois gonzo. She never wants to see him again. And this is an indication to Raymond she wants her husband killed.
Mm-hmm.
A month later, in June of 2013, Sarah discovers she's pregnant with her 5th child. And she believes the baby is Raymond's baby.
Okay.
Yep. When she told Raymond about the baby, he was thrilled.
Oh.
But on or around July 15th, he did give Sarah like a 3-week ultimatum deadline. Leave Alois, we're going to raise this baby together. And if you don't end your relationship within 3 weeks, I'm breaking this off. I'm not going to wait around forever for all of us to be together. She's never going to leave him.
She's never going to leave him.
July 23rd of 2013. So May, she wants him killed. June, she finds out she's pregnant. July, Raymond spends the day at her house. And upon leaving, Alois would accuse Sarah of having an affair with him. So, like, Alois is on to this.
Okay. Finally.
Yeah, I know. It's literally happening, like, in his house. Like, Raymond is over all the time.
And they're outside. They're under a bridge.
Yeah, they're hooking up all over town. This altercation where Alois confronts Sarah turns physical. Alois pushed and dragged Sarah by her hair through the hallway of their home. During this attack, Sarah was able to text Raymond asking him to call the police for her, so he does. But when the police arrives, Sarah tells them there's no problem and that they could leave. And this upset Raymond because it would have been a good opportunity for Sarah to exit the relationship. She's on that 3-week deadline. Mm-hmm. She's pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So he reminds her of his ultimatum and also brings up a way to get rid of Alois for good.
Potatoes.
Yep.
Yes.
So on July 25th, 2013, Raymond gives Sarah a bag of sleeping pills to crush up and put into Alois's food, telling her that she had to make a choice between the two of them. It's him or me. The pills were left over from Raymond's late wife, who had been struggling with cancer. So he had like pain meds, sleeping pills and stuff.
The big boys.
Yeah, prescription stockpile. He told Sarah to drug Alois and that once he was knocked out, he, Raymond, would come over and, quote, take care of it, finish the job. The pair then made their plan. They agreed that they would, like, get rid of Alois's body and not immediately report him missing. And that once they did report him missing, they could push a rebels gang kidnapping narrative. He left. He had information. We think they took him.
Ooh, okay.
And he did travel fairly regularly for work. So I don't think they knew it wouldn't raise alarm bells in the first couple days of him not being around. People wouldn't, even his family would be like, oh, he's probably just like on a job.
Okay.
So
not a bad plan.
It's not the worst plan. They do it terribly, though. So on July 28th...
They usually do.
They usually do. July 28th of 2013 is the day that the pair planned to murder him because Alois's mom, Ziona, who was still living with them, had plans to be in Sydney for at least a week. So she's going on vacation. She's out of the house. So it's only Alois, Sarah, and their 4 kids at home.
Okay.
And Hamish and his kid. So there's still a million fucking people in the house. But the mom's gone, the one who would be like the most incriminating because she's keeping an eye on like her precious baby boy.
Mm-hmm.
So that Sunday afternoon of July 28th, Sarah drives Ziona to the train station to drop her off for a trip. That evening, Sarah prepares the evening meal of chicken, veggies, and mashed potatoes.
Yum.
I know, right? This dinner sounds delish. She crushed the sleeping pills into Alois's portion of mashed potatoes that she served to him. Alois had a long day at work. He ate dinner in bed around 8 p.m. And after eating, Alois would become drowsy. Sarah would stay in contact with Raymond. This is what, honestly, y'all don't text about your murder plot.
No.
Like it's at the time, even 2013, we knew that text messages are forever. You can delete them off your phone. They're still with your service provider and carrier. That can be easily found and become evidence. So
it's
what
messy.
the fuck? It's so messy.
Ugh.
So she's staying in contact with Raymond during this time, keeping him informed of what's going on. Messages she sent him included phrases such as, still waiting for it to drop off, nothing is getting in the way of tonight, and I'm hoping he drops off soon. I'm sick of waiting. Pretty incriminating.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Fucking
you may as well have just written like exactly how many sleeping pills you crushed into his mashed potatoes and what time you did it. And
Right.
how you can't wait for Raymond to come over and finish the job and kill her husband so she doesn't have to deal with her husband anymore. Like, this was very silly.
So we can play the motorcycle club.
Yeah, exactly. Put the whole plan in there. Why not? Around 10 p.m., friend/roommate Hamish returns home with his kid. He's chatting with Alois, who's not asleep yet. He's chilling. But Hamish is concerned about his behavior. He told police later that Alois was falling asleep mid-sentence while he was talking to him. Alois told him, like, it's nothing to worry about. He had worked a really hard day, and he said he had taken some painkillers because his back was hurting him. I don't know if these were prescription painkillers, but regardless, even if he just took some, like, Tylenol or whatever, that can definitely interact with other meds that are in your system. So it probably wasn't very helpful. As Hamish explained later in an interview with a publication called A Current Affair, quote, I asked him if he was high. That seemed a bit not right, you see, because Alois didn't do drugs. But his head started to drop, his eyes were closed, and his head was facing downwards by the end of it, like our conversation. And he said, anyway, man, I feel like I need to, and just trailed off and fell asleep in the middle of a sentence. As his drowsiness increased, he told Hamish that he was going to sleep. This would be the last time Hamish spoke to him. After giving his flatmate a high five, Hamish unwittingly said goodbye to Alois for the final time.
Oh, God.
At one point in time, Hamish recalled hearing footsteps outside of his bedroom and Sarah opening Hamish's door and like peeking in on him. When he asked her what she wanted, she just shut the door. Not thinking much of it, Hamish would go back to sleep, but what she was actually doing was seeing if he was awake and could hear what was happening in the room next door. Raymond asked via text once again, y'all, Raymond's a boomer. He's 51 at this point. There's no way for him to understand how technology works, but like Sarah, come on.
No way.
There's just no way. He tells her to leave the front door unlocked so he can get in, turn off the security light, like the automatic light, and disconnect the CCTV monitor that they have of their property.
Good Lord.
Specifically the one covering the entry of the house.
Oh my God.
And to put towels down where Alois slept in case he had a mess to clean up.
Oh, Jesus.
Around 1:50 a.m., so now the early morning of July 29th, Sarah texted Raymond that Alois was sleeping soundly enough to not be disturbed by a passing train so that Raymond knew to come over. And so he arrived around 2 a.m. Raymond entered the room and killed Alois in a way that is still unknown.
Whoa, really?
There was blood, which I don't know how much of it was in the bedroom, but there certainly was in other areas that we're going to get to.
That's so
But we're not
odd.
quite sure. I mean, yeah, you'd think. We had kind of thought when I heard about the towels, it was like, oh, he's going to suffocate him.
Yeah.
And then there's no blood. And then if he is found later, he had drugs in his system, maybe that
He
could
just
be
suffocated.
cause of death. Yeah. We don't know what his cause of death is because the body's never been recovered.
Oh, got it. Okay.
But there was blood.
Okay.
So Raymond
I was thinking they had a body and they couldn't
Nope.
fucking tell how he died.
No, he's never been found.
Oh.
Yeah. Raymond dragged the body wrapped in bedding from the bedroom to the driveway where he backed his car up close to the house. He was also sure to take Alois's phone and his cigarettes with him to sell the idea that Alois had left the house on his own accord. Meanwhile, Sarah kept watch. All the children were still in the house at this time, including Hamish's kids. There's 5 kids in the house while she's essentially poisoned her husband and Raymond has come in and murdered him.
All right.
Hamish would wake up at some point and Sarah would stare at him strangely and he just went back to bed. But he didn't see Raymond.
Are they all in the same fucking room together?
No, but they're all in the same house and he probably like got up to pee, whatever, maybe saw her in the hallway, didn't see Raymond or Alois, so he's just like, ugh, and then he just went back to bed. I don't like this.
This is so fucking weird.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
With Sarah's help, Raymond lifted Alois's body into his car and drove away to dispose of him. Quote, I helped him place Alois's lifeless body in the back of his car. He didn't say where he was going. He didn't say where he was taking him. I left and went back inside. So that's according to Sarah Tarrant, who said this during a police interview after the fact. Raymond would text Sarah, telling her to hose off the driveway, which she did because there was blood. The next morning, Sarah went out to buy new bedding at Target and went about her normal routine, not reporting Alois missing to family or friends. According to Sarah, this is her timeline of events. She wakes up at around 11:30. She goes to the rear of her house and she falls asleep on a lounge chair. 2:30 a.m., she goes down the hall to go to the bathroom and she sees Raymond coming out of Alois's bedroom and closing the door behind him. Ugh. He tells Sarah to go back to the lounge and just stay out of it. 20 minutes later, Sarah hears the bedroom and front doors closing. Sarah would see that Alois was not in bed and that the quilt and other bedding items were missing. She's trying to be like, I don't know what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah walked outside and saw Raymond standing next to his vehicle with, quote, something wrapped in a blanket on the ground next to Raymond's Great Wall 4-wheel drive SUV. Raymond told Sarah to help him. She would realize that the white blanket contained Alois's lifeless body. She agreed to help. The pair apparently experienced considerable difficulty maneuvering the body into the vehicle. Afterwards, Raymond drove away in a westerly direction and Sarah returned to the lounge. That's what she's like. This is all I know.
All I know is that I didn't know anything and then I was moving a body and then I went to bed.
So on August 2nd of 2013, they finally report Alois missing. So like I said earlier, it wasn't super unusual for him to be away from home, so his absence initially did not alarm his relatives. But after a couple of days, Hamish got concerned and starts texting and calling Alois, and he obviously isn't getting any responses back. After almost a week, however, Alois's aunt became aware of his absence and contacted his mother, who was still in Sydney. She cuts her trip to Sydney short. She comes home. She's like, where the fuck is my son? Together, they go to the police station to report him missing, and this would force Sarah and Raymond to go along as well and act concerned, because they obviously know where he is. During initial questioning by police, Sarah maintained that she had no idea what had happened to Alois and that she was anxious about his absence. During this interview, Sarah starts planting the seed. She mentions the Rebels motorcycle gang, suggesting that they might have found him and abducted him. She stated that he had been receiving threatening messages saying things like he'd better move and that he'd better watch his back, that they were coming to get him. While Alois had received threatening messages in the past, this was years earlier. They had moved over 400 miles away from the Newcastle area. Previously, Alois had gone to the police about these messages. And so if there were new messages, which they didn't find on his phone because, there weren't new messages, and he didn't go to the police, even though he had before. So, like, this was not a good plan.
Okay.
And only Ziona was out of the house that night, which left 3 adults, Sarah, Alois, and Hamish, and 5 children. So nobody hearing anything would be super weird. Like, if a kidnapping had taken place and no one knew that he'd been taken, they're not buying it.
Have they
Rightfully
interviewed
so.
Hamish yet at this point?
Not yet.
Okay.
But eventually they interviewed everybody. After this interview, though, they were like, we're going to get a warrant and we're going to search your house. So they searched Sarah and Alois's house. When searching at the home, police found Alois's wallet, which he should have brought with him if he'd left willingly. And it's like, you got to know.
Fucking wallet.
Yeah, he remembered the cigarettes.
Oh my God.
But not his wallet.
These people.
Yeah. Police also investigated the driveway as they knew that the security cameras covering that front area had been specifically turned off. And they swabbed a crack in the cement and found blood that would test positive as belonging to Alois.
Oh my God.
Yep. So then they searched Raymond's car a couple days later. Police would seize Raymond's vehicle, where they would find a great deal of dried blood in the back of his Great Wall SUV.
Didn't even fucking clean his car at this point?
No, I don't think so. Or if they did, he didn't do it very well. And the luminol just lit up like a Christmas tree.
It's always a Christmas tree.
I just don't think he cleaned well, because they also found the sleeping pills that had been prescribed to Raymond's late wife in the car. So, like, you're not covering your tracks at all.
You're
just leaving,
obviously a bachelor.
You're leaving, like, literal blood and pill crumbs directly to the scene.
My
Quote,
dude.
Yeah, my guy, you're blowing this. Quote, at that stage, we didn't know whose blood it was, but we suspected. Until the relevant DNA testing could be completed, which was within a few days, then the confirmation of Alois's blood came through the following Monday. So it's like, this is his. It's his in the driveway. This is not good. I think at that point, they realize that it's enough blood that this guy's dead, even though they have not recovered a body. Because these folks were charged with murder. Yeah. So they know he's dead. By August 9th, police had obtained a warrant and conducted a search of Raymond's home. In his home, they would find love letters, women's underwear belonging to Sarah. There's something about just like a 50-plus-year-old man in this relationship with a 24-year-old girl and keeping her panties in his house. I just want to barf.
It's really gross.
I really hate it. And I'm like all about, if you want to sniff your partner's panties consensually, baby, go off. But the age gap is not healthy in these circumstances.
The whole context surrounding, and then they're killing her husband. It's the
all
whole
bad.
thing.
It's the whole thing.
The whole time.
Quote, we suspected there was a relationship up until that point, but until we found the love letters, some underwear, and the actual admissions by Mr. Roth that they were in a relationship, that heightened our suspicions a lot more. So that's Detective Sergeant Baker who is commenting on that. They had suspected that they were sleeping together, but they didn't have any solid proof until they searched his house.
Okay.
With his disappearance now looking like a crime, Hamish, Sarah, and Raymond were all brought in for questioning and their phones seized. When their phones were searched, they would find the text messages exchanged from that night, including the text confirming that Alois was passed out. So Hamish is immediately ruled out as a suspect because fucking Sarah and Raymond detailed their entire plan via text. It's like, good for Hamish. At least that made it easy for them to be like, oh, no, Doc, you're good. You can go home. At one point, Raymond admitted to saving Sarah in his phone as, quote, hot, sexy, yummy mummy.
Ish.
Yeah. And if you're following along in my notes, there is a photo of Sarah and Raymond, so you can really see what hot, sexy, yummy mummy and the man saying that look like.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Raymond.
She's beautiful. He's just a gross old man.
Oh, he is just a gross old man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right. Double flannel, too.
Yeah, he's layering his flannels. It's all bad. Under questioning, Raymond would continue to deny his involvement in everything, despite the text exchanges as evidence. Like, it's kind of hard to get out of this. It's on digital paper.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah, however, sang like a canary. She cracked immediately. Confessed that she and Raymond were responsible. She admitted to putting sleeping pills in Aloise's mashed potatoes, but she claimed that she didn't know what to expect after he finished eating and didn't know that Raymond would hurt him, claiming that she only wanted to scare Alois and not hurt him. So she totally did that thing where you try to confess just enough to get like a lighter sentence.
Yep. Yeah.
It's bullshit.
It is.
They plotted to kill him and she knew exactly what was going to happen.
Yeah. It's a really weak lie, too.
It's really weak.
Mm-hmm.
When she was asked to explain her text, quote, "I can't wait for the pills to kick in," she responded saying, quote, "Raymond gave me the pills and I gave them to Alois to put him to sleep. I just wanted him to go to bed."
Forever.
The pair were arrested on August 9th and both charged with murder. Raymond was eventually found guilty for premeditated murder, and Sarah was found guilty of manslaughter. A fisherman on August 19th would find a bedsheet and other bedding floating in the Macquarie River. The sheet would match descriptions of Sarah's bedding, and testing would find dog hairs that belonged to Raymond's dog. So
I love it when it comes down to dog hair.
I love a dog hair.
Mm-hmm.
I love a dog hair. So it wasn't explicitly stated, but the thought is the dog hair got onto the sheet when they transferred Alois's body into Raymond's SUV.
The car. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. And the fact that we haven't found a body, but in the water, a dog hair still clung to that sheet, it's pretty miraculous. But that paints a picture like Raymond probably dumped him in the river and he went down river and he just was never found.
Yeah. Recovered.
Mm-hmm. March 21st of 2016, Sarah pled guilty to manslaughter, which the Crown didn't accept. And she was tried again for murder.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
They just not accept?
I guess. I don't really know how this works, but I guess somebody brought manslaughter charges. They maybe put in a plea for manslaughter, and the Crown was like, no, we're not taking a plea deal. Because
so
then
the Crown is basically just the DA.
Yeah, the court.
Okay.
Yeah. So April 14th, a jury acquitted Sarah Tarrant on one charge of murder, but found her guilty of manslaughter. So I think that the court was like, no, we're not going to try you just for manslaughter or have you take a plea deal. You're going to court. Here are the charges. But the jury couldn't make first degree fit. So they just came back with manslaughter, called it good.
Okay.
The day that she was found guilty was the same day that Raymond's trial started. So they were not tried together and they were tried like in succession. Mm-hmm. Sarah's manslaughter conviction went as follows. A jury would find Sarah guilty of manslaughter on the grounds that she was mentally unstable and did not fully understand what was going on. A psychiatrist and family violence specialist named Dr. Carolyn Quadrio would state that Sarah suffered from chronic PTSD following an extensive history of abuse, as well as childhood of disturbed development, stating that mentally Sarah was a severely impaired person, which if all of that's true, these relationships that Raymond and Alois had with her are that much more horrifying.
Yeah.
Yes. Especially Raymond. You're in your fucking 50s. Your wife just died.
And you're like a family friend who's known her since she was little.
A kid. Yeah.
It's disgusting.
It's really fucked up. Sarah's father is a convicted pedophile, and he had spent many years in prison. I don't think she really had a relationship with him.
I hope not.
Yeah. Her mother and father separated when she was 5 years old, and she lived with her mom. She had also...
That's rough.
Yeah. She'd also been at the receiving end of physical violence. There was that physical altercation with Alois on July 23rd, which was only days before his murder. And that was part of a larger history of physical and verbal abuse. Quote, I think her capacity to understand right or wrong is not at all normal, according to Dr. Quadrio. In delivering his judgment, Justice Fagan told the court of 12 occasions between 2004 and 2013 when Alois Rez had been abusive toward Tarrant. He also found that Sarah Tarrant was exposed to fits of temper, in many of which he smashed or threw items in or damaged walls by punching them, which is like mega red flag abuser behavior. Like if you've got a dude in your life who gets pissed and punches a wall,
It's going to be you sometime.
it's only a matter of time before it's you. Like, that's such a solid sign of escalating shit. So just take that shit seriously. It's stupid and embarrassing, and it can also escalate if they don't seek like serious mental health and anger management treatment to redirect their anger.
I feel so sorry. I mean, okay, she killed him. I get it.
She helped kill him. But she's not.
But the shit leading up to it, it would be so scary raising four,
soon to be 5. She's pregnant with her 5th kid.
Really young children. When
She's 24 with a developmental age of, just over half of that. So she's a developmental tween.
And your partner is at the minimum throwing shit and punching walls.
Yep. Abusing you and is 10 years older than you. And then, she also grew up without a father figure. So enter Raymond. Looking like a dad who's going to help her. Let me take care of this. She's a victim here for sure.
Yeah. But you can be both.
You can be both.
But
she's certainly not a perfect victim, but she is absolutely a victim.
I'm just picturing how dark shit must have been for her in this whole scenario. It's gross.
Yep. On May 13th of 2016, the jury returned a guilty verdict for Raymond Roth, finding him guilty of murdering Alois Rez. Justice Fagan said when sentencing Roth in 2013, quote, "The passion which the offender came to feel for Sarah Tarrant from late 2012 unhinged his judgment. He had been of sound sense and morality throughout all his adult years to this point. By every account given in evidence before me, he was a solid, honest, hardworking family man." Gotta pump up the white guy who murdered someone.
He's a very talented swimmer.
Yep.
Promising young man.
Yeah. Justin Fagan said Roth murdered Mr. Rez because of his strength of feeling for Tennant. She became everything to him. With her, he felt he could be a young man again, starting over with a second family of her children and their own.
Well, so happy for him.
Yeah, it could have worked out so great, Raymond.
Jesus.
Without her, the future was cold, widowed, and alone in a country town, according to Justice Fagan. So despite the fact that there's still no body, it was still a crime. Although the suspects were zeroed in on rather quickly, the search for Alois's body has remained unsolved despite all efforts made. Police believe Roth drove to an unknown location between Dubbo and Nangan to dump the body, which is a distance of about 100 miles. That's a lot of area to search.
Yeah. My whole sense of distance in Australia is so fucking...
Everywhere seems... Even though Australia is small as a little continent, but it's also vast and open and deserty. Everywhere seems far away.
Everywhere is 600 miles away and in the bush.
In the heat.
Yeah.
Spiders. They could have been eaten by spiders. We've explored various areas within those locations, and we're at a loss. We've had Pol Air, which is the aviation command that provides aerial support to police across New South Wales. We've had Pol Air up. We've had police on bikes, searched areas with SES.
Police on bikes.
I know, right? Cops on 2 wheels. And various other agencies. We're not sure where else we can go. It's such a big area. Mr. Rez could be buried or placed out there and never be found, unfortunately.
He's already been eaten by spiders. I just give up.
Or he was dumped in the river, where they found the sheets. We don't know.
Yeah.
He could be buried out in this area, and it's too big for them to search it.
He could have also been moved after a couple weeks or something.
Easily. There's always hope, and I'll always hold out hope for the family, but as time progresses, that hope diminishes to some respect. I'm at a loss. I just don't know. That's Detective Sergeant Baker again.
That's so sad.
Sarah gave birth while in custody, but before her trial, she surrendered the child to her mother, who is still raising her. I think she's still pretty young. Oh, yeah, she's maybe a teenager now. Raymond continues to deny knowledge and involvement while Sarah claims ignorance, so it's still unknown exactly how Alois died. Raymond still never gave that information because... if he does, after denying everything at trial and getting his sentencing, it's I'm not going to incriminate myself further and possibly get more time added.
Yeah.
You know?
Or completely not have any chance for parole, potentially.
Yeah. So he's got, I think he'll die in prison because he was already kind of gross and in his 50s when he went in there. But like, despite how you feel about Alois, I don't think he's a good guy, but he doesn't deserve this. And he has family who loves him. And the fact that maybe Sarah doesn't know, but the fact that Raymond won't give it up about where he dumped the remains is really fucked up. Like, you got caught. Stop trying to fucking save yourself. Do like one decent thing in the
time
mix.
you have left.
In the time you have left, in the mix of all the horrible shit you've done now. Raymond would successfully appeal his sentence as excessive. So he got his sentence reduced from 32 years to 24 years of minimum sentence to 25 with he got it reduced from 32 years to 24 to 25 years with an 18-year minimum. Before, it was like you don't even have a chance for parole until 24 years, and you're going to be in here at least up to 32 years. Now it's 25 years with possibility of parole after 18 years.
Well, now he's definitely not going to sing.
Yeah, no, of course. The Court of Criminal Appeal found that while Roth has shown no remorse for the killing, he was not motivated by financial gain, had a virtually clean criminal record, and hadn't appeared to use any special cruelty in inflicting death. But we don't know that because we have no body. They're just going by the blood evidence that was found at the home and in his car.
Also, no special cruelty besides inflicting death.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just think that that's an unfair thing to tack on because it's like, how the fuck do we know? We don't have the body we don't even know how he died.
Yeah.
What the fuck? It clearly wasn't a gunshot because it didn't wake anybody in the house. So he had to have either stabbed him or something. I don't fucking know. Sarah would successfully appeal her sentence based on the judge's conduct giving rise to a reasonable apprehension of bias against her, which I actually kind of agree with because a lot of his comments throughout trial just came off as very misogynistic and putting a lot of blame on her. And yes, she is responsible for this here too, but we got so much information about her like mental capacity and her emotional state in this trial that has to be taken into account. You can't just wave that shit away. It matters.
Yeah.
So her sentence of 10 years, 8 months with an 8-year minimum was reduced to 8 years with a 5-year minimum. And she became eligible for parole in November of 2020. And I believe she has since been released in the last 4 years, but I'm not 100% sure.
Wow.
But yeah, that's, she was dubbed the mashed potato murderer in the press.
Does this story does it affect your passion for mashed potatoes?
Not at all. And honestly, if I'm going to go out, sleeping pills in my mashed potatoes, I don't even fucking know what's happening. I just go to bed with a full tummy.
And
come on.
He took his dinner in bed, which is very
which
nice.
is something I definitely love. Mashed potatoes in bed with like old episodes of Parks and Rec on is exactly how I want to go. So take note,
I
Bill.
hope that's how he did go.
I hope so too.
With like a visit from your best friend to round out your day.
Yeah, if you FaceTime me right before I die just to say goodnight, that would make it perfect.
Even while you're passing out.
Yeah, okay, well, I'm going to go because these potatoes must have that turkey, what's tryptophan, whatever the fuck that is in there, lorazepam.
And I'll be like, actually, they're full of alkaloids.
Oh, God.
It's the alkaloids. You need your sleep.
You need your sleep. So, yeah, that's my case.
Jesus. Who knew potato crimes would be like kind of dark?
There were a lot of options.
Yeah. I mean, I think that speaks to just how ubiquitous potatoes are.
They are.
Because we had
100%.
people...
They're so versatile.
We had people dying in all manner of potato usage.
Yes.
Only one of them was poisoned.
What a murder weapon. Who knew?
A murder
weapon. Take note, listeners.
A murder weapon, a motive.
Mm-hmm.
A means. A means to cannibalism, a cooking, also like exorcism, you know.
Yes.
An ingredient.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, a vessel for the poisoning.
We covered basically every base. The only thing that was missing was like killing someone with a potato gun, which is also a thing that I came across when I was looking for a case, but it was just like too sad.
It's also kind of A to B, you know? There's not much else to say. Like the guy with the fork stabbed his girlfriend in the head with the fork because of the potato. It's like,
well,
how much
what
could
else
you
is
really
there to say?
Yep. He
This
did.
had a little bit more of a tangled tail, so
Had
I'm
some
glad
more
we
meat
got
and
to cover
potatoes
it.
to it.
Ah! You had to have some meat to go with those taters. So,
I want a roast.
yum. Me too. We have to go because we're starving. But thank you so much, Allie Patterson, for this delicious episode.
Yes.
And we hope any of you will make some of our potato recipes. And again, if you do, please tag us on social. We want to see how they come out.
We should post them on Patreon.
Let's do it.
We'll post our recipes on Patreon.
Perfect. Love it.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.